This is my 2004 1.8 liter Nissan Sentra S model, and this valve cover, it's a metal valve cover, and I cannot find it anywhere on any of the Nissan dealership in their parts. They list a part number. I've never looked to see if the part number is the same as the plastic valve cover like that I have on my GXE. Hopefully, if you have to ever order one using the part number, you'll get this one. And this one of the biggest differences is it's got the VVT solenoid. It's built into the valve cover. I don't think that comes apart. I think it's built in there, whereas the VVT on the GXE is in the cylinder head. And I mean, I don't know what's going on, because I've seen these valve covers like on Rock Auto, and they'll have the valve cover looks just like this, except it doesn't have the VVT sensor. And the VVT sensor controls your the advance and retard of the intake manifold, which gives you more power in low RPMs and other situations too. And I mean, I don't know if you're supposed to put the valve cover on and just leave the solenoid disconnected. I mean, the thing is too is that oil comes up. What the solenoid does, it works like sort of like the solenoid in a transmission, where it allows fluid to flow. What it does, it allows oil to flow. So that means there's an oil channel coming up into that and then going back down. So if you get the other valve cover, does that seal that channel, or it's amazing. And I mean, I've looked in the parts catalog, and there's one drawing that it's for something else for the head, the cylinder head, and it has the valve cover, and it's a drawing. It's sort of similar, looks like this, but it's on the side of it, the side of the valve cover, and it's like a hand-done drawing. And it does look like this. It's got it's got the this, and I think it's from the back, and it's got the part number, but I don't know how to reference the part number. It's not listed below or anything. So I don't know. And I've called a Nissan dealership, and their parts department, and I mean, I don't know. I'd have to take a picture of it, I guess, and take it in there and let them tell me what. I mean, the good part is it's metal. The plastic ones, they get brittle after a while, just like the plastic radiators. I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't keep a plastic radiator past 20 years. I'd get a new one. I don't know. Maybe they last longer than that, but they start to get brittle just like everything else. But the metal one will never. And I think that this is another issue too. I think that the seals on these can be replaced. There's nothing in the drawings that shows the seal, but they have it listed in the parts. It says valve tube seal or something like that. So it's possible it can be replaced. If that's possible, and that you can get. I have the valve cover seal for this, the gasket. I mean, that's no issue. What I'm hoping is this is just a metal on metal seal, which if on the GXE, when I did the head gasket, there's a bracket that goes over the first bearing, and it's just a metal on metal seal, and it's an oil channel. So hopefully this will be the same. That it's just metal on metal seal. If it is, that's great. Because like I said, you can get the valve cover seal, and I think you can get the spark plug tube seals too. And I mean, that's a plus if that's possible. But we'll find that out. I'll by the end of this video, we'll know that. What you want to do is pop these off on the coil-on plug, coil-on spark plug, And you do that by just pushing this in and pulling back. And you hear that pop. That's the weather pack sealing. You don't want water to get into these. And then next you want to take these off, the screws, the bolts out. And then next you want to take the clips off the tubes. There's one there, and this one's going to be a real pain. I started on this the other day, and it was going to rain, so I put everything back. And that's going to be a real pain to get that tube off of there. And actually, too, another plus on this is that the PCV looks like it's metal. The other one on the one that's a plastic, on my GXE, it's plastic. And also I had an Altima, and that was plastic, and that actually came apart when I was taking the tube off. It just broke right in half. You have to take the connector off the VVT solenoid. And this also too has only two aux sensors. It has an upstream and a downstream, where the GXE had 2 pairs of each, because it was a ULVE, ultra low emission vehicle, for California and New York. I think they sold them everywhere though. It was because it was the dealership on the back. It said Sunderland, which Sunderland was in. They have a dealership. I checked on the internet, and they have a dealership in Florida and Georgia. So you know, they're not a ULEV state. So I think they sold the GXEs everywhere. Next, you want to pull out the coilover plugs. They're all dry, which probably means the valve cover spark plug tube seals are good. But I'd still replace them though, because what happens is they dry out. Once they dry out, they start to crumble and they fall into the top end. So I undid the air tube there, and I did probably crankcase ventilation, and I undid the VVT sensor solenoid, and then also this. I'm pretty sure this isn't an aftermarket. I'm pretty sure this is an aftermarket clamp, and it was in there. It's a, you know, like a wire tie, and if you press down on this and pull from the back, you can pull this out, and it's reusable. And then I have to do that. PCV. I can't wait. So I tried the hose, and what happens with these is that they were rubber at one time, and now it's like almost like PVC piping or tubing. It's completely dried out. Sometimes the only option is to cut it and install a new. I mean, you can get like a molded, you know, from Nissan, but you can just install the regular on something like this. You can install just a regular. Let's see where it goes. That goes back here to this. Let me try some more and see if I can get it off. I also undid the aux sensor cable, so it'll be out of the way, and that just, this is sort of like a GM type connector that General Motors uses. So you just flip this, or either that or General Motors copied Nissan, I don't know. It's an industry standard probably. So you just flip that like that, and it pushes this out. You just take it out like that. I want to have to undo this. This is probably a cam position sensor. like most of the connectors on this Nissan, you just push in on this, push down on this tab. It's like a seesaw, and when you push down, the other end goes up, and then there's a notch on the sensor, and it just and then you just slide this off. This one, it's 2004, so it's 2 years newer than my GXE. My GXE had a throttle cable, and this throttle body's fly-by-wire. I loosened up all the bolts that hold the valve cover on. I did it sort of like in a star, you know, crisscross. Did one end and then did the other one over here, and then did one over here, then one over here, then one over here, and then one over here. And I did those sort of, I think when I went from there to here, I undid that, and then I undid these, loosened. You just want to loosen them just a little bit, and then go back again and do the same thing, and just until they're completely loose. I just realized that the cam sensor's in the valve cover also. It's hammer time. You want to tap it with a rubber mallet, the valve cover, to loosen it up. Make sure all the bolts are out. There should be 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, 6, and then 7, 8, 9. Did we start with that one? It's either 9 or 10. So there's 4 in the back. Then there's 1, 2, 3, 4 in the front, and then 1 on the side, so that makes 9. 1 on the side, and that makes 9. Then there's a 2. There's 1 here. There's 1 there, and then there's 1 there, so that makes 11, right? So you can get the valve cover like this after you hit it a couple times with the mallet on this end. And then put it, if you're very, very careful, you don't want to gouge the surface, because if you do that, the oil will give the oil path to leak through. So you just want to keep prying it until you get this off. You sort of get the idea. There, it's off. So this is the type of head this is. Looks like I'm not sure. I finally got the valve cover off, and I think it was the the seals, or they were, you know, these are all dried out. They need to be replaced. But the good thing is they can be replaced. But there is a gasket for the VVT sensor right there. I'm not gonna remove it or anything till I know I can get a new one. So here's a complementary part, or the complementary side of the head for the valve cover, where the where the VVT sensor was, etc. That screen and everything goes on it's on the valve cover. One thing I wish I'd done is clean this out. So that crud in there, that could very easily fall in. I think I'm going to put a rag down there and try to get as much of that out so it doesn't happen. Someone made a mess that I have to clean up. That's valve gasket cement. They probably didn't have a new valve cover gasket, so they probably cleaned it off as good as they could and put. I can tell by the way it's sticking to the cylinder head, and the way it's sticking, it's not sticking to the valve cover gasket. They probably just cleaned it off as best as they can. The oil, they didn't have a new. If they had a new one, it would have stuck to both. You know, you have sections where it would stick to one and not the other, and vice versa. But since it's all on the head, it's probably what they did. And then you got these two alignment pins. One's right there, and the other's right there. And that one looks kind of like it's, well, I guess it's okay. But look how the gasket sealant goes down into the, see, that stuff drops off and it gets into your engine. It's carried through the oil and it starts plugging up stuff like your screen on the on your oil filter pickup. And they didn't read the directions on how to use this either. They just put it, you're supposed to put it on and then let it, then you're supposed to put the pieces together and just finger tighten the bolts and let it dry for like an hour, and then you tighten it down. They put it on liquid and they tightened it down right away. And that's why it's squeezed out like that. Well, I found the gasket, this gasket here for the VVT. It was there all the time, was in the listings, they just didn't show it in the parts diagram, the exploded view. And so I'm still working on the spark plug tube seals. So now I have to clean up the valve cover mating surface. Clean all that gasket and oil and stuff off. So here's the part number for the oil, it says oil seal, but it's a valve cover spark plug tube seal. I mean, it could be a seal for like a transmission or something. I mean, that'd be pretty cool if they used both for the somewhere in the engine or something, the motor, another seal. And this is the that's the gasket for the valve cover for the VVT sensor. It's this gasket right here. So I squirted some carburetor cleaner down in the bolt holes, and some of them go right through, but some have a dead end. What you don't want to happen is the ones with the dead end, you don't want to put the screw in there after you do this nice job of cleaning. I still need to clean some more, but what's going to happen is some stuff's going to come out. So I'm going to do a second pass. But you don't want to put the bolt in and the bolt's going to act like a piston. Any liquid that's in there, it's going to push it out through the threads, around the threads, and it's going to come out on your gasket surface and ruin the whole job. So what I usually do is I take a Q-tip. So that one goes all the way through. And this one done. You just swirl it around. And you get all the stuff out that's inside. Let's go on to the next one. That one goes all the way through. That one goes all the way through. Okay, that one's got a pocket. One a lot down in there. Let me get a new Q-tip. So we did this one, right? We'll do it again. Won't even go in there. Okay. So this one, I think this one goes all the way through. Yep. And then that one goes all the way through. See it sticking through? This is the next one. That goes all the way through too. Got this one. And then this one. That goes all the way through. So we started there, right? So we did that one. So here's the valve cover, and we got to take the little gasket out. Little gasket, and then here's the VVT sensor, or not sensor, solenoid, and then this is the camshaft position sensor. The cam has a disc on the end of it with cutouts. And this is it's probably like a magnetic, some kind of magnetic pickup. The sensor is, it detects the cutouts and causes a pulse. And then this too is a gasket too. Luckily I have an extra one of these. I have an extra one of these. It should fit. If that is a gasket, I don't know. Maybe it isn't. I think you might have to pry it out. But anyway, so this is my seal puller. So we're going to pull a seal. So check to make sure they're the right size. Well, they're like rock. They're like plastic. They're not soft. See, the new one's all nice and rubbery. Yep. Same size. I wonder if they would fit in the... I was just looking to see if they fit on my my GXE valve cover, but they don't. There's a website where you can order spark plug seals, but by size, but there's no picture, and you might get. I ordered some for this just by the size, and they're not this kind. They're not this type of seal. It's just got like a lip that's the same diameter as this, which would cause it to, you know, tilt like. But they're made by an aftermarket company. What's it called? I can't think what it is, but I think if I went to their website, I might be able to look it up, and they might have like different pictures of it. But I will try to order seals for that. I would like to just keep it for a spare for the GXE. So we're going to pull the seal. See, it's like plastic. There it is. It's coming out a little bit now. I think I have to stand up to do this. So I actually found a better way. And let me see if let me put these Q-tips away. I can still use these. So what I found is you can just take a screwdriver, and you want to make sure you get the seal and not, you don't want to scratch up the. You can just knock the seal right out. Well, it didn't all come out. That just shows how dried up these are. There. See? See, if these were nice and soft rubber, it'd come out one piece. They're all dried up. They're, you know, like 16, 17 years old. I used to know somebody that they had like a 70 Fairlane, Ford Fairlane. They used to put, whenever they changed oil, they put like 8 or 9 ounce, I think 4 or 5 ounces of transmission fluid in it, because they said transmission fluid has seal conditioner in it. I don't know, I think maybe it was an older Fairlane than that, because it was back in the 70s. Wait a minute, when was that? No. Yeah, it was in the 80s. So yeah, I think it was like a 70 Fairlane or something like that. Ford Fairlane. Here's the other seal. No, it was in the 70s. It was like 78. Yeah, it might have been like the 60s. I don't know. I didn't keep up on Fords. So the last one's the most difficult. No scratches or anything. Looks like they glued them in. That's what they put, a little bit of glue on one side. I don't know what the purpose of that is. So I'm gotta take this filter, the gasket off. The old gasket, well, that's really dry. Oh gosh. Oh, that's real. It's like a piece. It's like. Wonder if they glued that on. There. Yeah, it looks like it was glued on or something. Yeah, if it's still on there. Let me scrape that off and then I'll be right back. Yeah, so this did come off. So that is a seal. I've got an extra one. Because I put a new valve cover on my GXE and it came with one already on it. And the head gasket kit had one in it. So, you know, an interesting, when I was working on this the other day, see the bolt that holds the camshaft sensor in? Well, I had to get the S model out of the way because I put two new tires on the front of my GXE, and so the car wouldn't start. And it wouldn't start until I put this bolt in there. And see how loose it is? I mean, it's not in there tight. And the only thing I can think of is it created a ground for the sensor. See, it wasn't detecting the rotation of the cam, so it didn't know it. What it does, it uses the rotation of the cam. Basically, it's like a distributor. It works the same way as a distributor. If you remember distributors from probably 74, pre-74 cars. Works probably about the same way. So it didn't work until I put the bolt in, which I think grounded the circuit. So this is pretty dry on there, and I was using this gasket scraper, and I'm kind of concerned that I'm gonna, you know, start shaving off some aluminum or something. So I'm gonna try to heat it up, see if that will work. Burn it off. Well, I did end up using the gasket scraper. I used it very carefully, and any little scratches it made in it, I used the roll lock for the fine little. It's not really a real roll lock. It's an eBay copy. That's the end of the end part here, and they're different color coded for different coarseness, and so anything that was left on there, the roll lock took it off, and it also removed any kind of minor imperfections caused by the gasket scraper. So now I'm going to wash everything off and dry it out real quick. So just to make the whole job complete, I took the VVT solenoid out, and I'm going to put a new O-ring on it. Here's where it lives. Works just like a solenoid for a transmission, actually. I used gunk, cleaned it out pretty good, washed it out, and now I'm going to use compressed air, dry it. Whenever you use compressed air, especially in this capacity, well, for the whole process you should be wearing goggles, or protective glasses like this. I mean, every time you work on the car, you come downstairs to work on it or go outside, or no matter how menial the task, you should always put on safety glasses. And these are 2X, full lens 2X. They're really nice. The bifocal ones aren't any good. If you don't need 2X glasses, it makes your motor look twice as big. But especially when you're using compressed air like this, you should always wear goggles. I found too that you can put the hood prop in this hole here instead of that one where the arrow's pointing. You can put it in there. It gives you about a half a foot more headroom. Well, I'll be back tomorrow. When you take the valve cover off, that's why it's so difficult to get the end off on this end, because these locating pins. And there's the camshaft position not the sensor, but the position marker. It would be interesting to find out what other applications these have besides the spark plug tube seals. I'm sure they're used throughout other car models for, maybe like transmission or the motor. Not so much the motor. Well, it could be like a crankshaft seal, maybe. Another reason why it's always good to take pictures of everything before you disassemble it, so you know which way the oil seals go in. This is the way the seal goes in, not like this. It goes in like this. So I can use this socket that uses a seal driver. It's a 35 millimeter. You can use a piece of pipe. There's lots of things you can use. If you're really careful, you could probably just keep tapping around the outside, but I wouldn't recommend that. It's driven in. It might be a little bit too far. I mean, you could actually drive in all the way up to the top. if you wanted to. Actually, it needs to be evened up. That's probably more important than anything. Oh, there's a ridge in there. Yeah, there's a ridge. So you can't, so there's a ridge. So it only goes up to this. I don't know if you can see that. There's a ridge. There's a ridge right there. So you can only go, you can't go past that ridge. That's good. So I don't know if it went a little bit past. It's about 3 or 4 millimeters uneven. So I don't know if it went a little bit past the ridge. It was a little bit crooked. That's good. It's not. It's just for a spark plug tube seal. It's not. This one's a little crooked, slightly by about 3 millimeters. It's down this side a little bit more. May have gone past the ridge a little bit because it went in. But it's just for a spark plug tube seal. It's not like for a spinning shaft or anything like that. I still would like to find out what else they use these for, because they are a seal. They're an actual oil seal. There's the last one. Ow. That's good. Okay, job complete. Now I need to get, here's where I hit my finger with a hammer. Gonna get a blood blister. So here's that rubber gasket. And that goes on here, this is part of the positive crankcase ventilation. Which what it does is it just tries to circulate the gases that are in the not in the combustion chamber, in the crankcase, to the PCV valve without getting any oil output. You know, you don't want to have your oil going in there because you start to be burning oil, because it reburns it in the intake. That's what this baffling's for right here. It goes in this baffling, and then oil can funnel out. Today'd be a nice day for flying. Well, it's good for another 20 years. I put a dab of silicone sealant on both of the corners there. That's where the this cover, it's not the timing chain cover, it's just the cover that goes down to the, you have to remove to access the timing chain. And so there's like a seam there, and it's just slightly a little bit higher than the cylinder head. So I'm going to put a dab there on each one of those. Next is the gasket for the valve cover for the VVT oil passage. You know, I think you're supposed to put this on the block. I mean, on the cylinder head. The reason why is it's got these two locating pinholes. So that should keep it in place. Then I put the valve cover down on top of it. And the old one didn't have any evidence of any kind of, you know, like gasket cement or anything like that. Another good thing is the valve cover seal seems to be staying in place. I had to do my nephew's Dodge Stratus that had a Mitsubishi engine. The valve cover gasket. I was doing the valve. Well, I did the water pump. The water pump needed replacing, so I did the timing cover. He has a belt, an actual belt. That's one thing I like about Nissans. They have a Hivo chain, and so while I was in there, I did the timing belt, and I noticed the valve cover was leaking, so I did that, and the valve cover gasket kept falling out every time I turned the valve cover over. So I had to put a little bit of sealant in there to hold it in place. And the valve cover gasket was all the tube, spark plug tube seals, and the gasket was all one piece. Since I'm using a gasket sealer, it requires that you only tighten it down finger tight, and then you come back in an hour and tighten it down the rest of the way. It's you know, form a gasket. I guess that's the way the gasket formation works. So they're all tightened down finger tight. Now I'm going to replace this vent tube. It's all dried out. Let's see if I can match up an O-ring for these. I used a pick to get the O-ring off. You want to try to get it off as without destroying it, in case you have to use it. And it was for the camshaft sensor. It looks like 215, this one here, fits it the best, and that's let's see, it looks like 32.7 by 3.5 by, oh, I can't see it, the sunlight's too bright, but you can see it you can see it from the recording. So probably the one for the BVT is going to be the this one here. This one here, which will be this one on the chart. Actually, the next size down might be better. There's the new O-rings. I installed the camshaft position sensor and reconnected up the aux sensor connectors and installed the VVT solenoid. .7 millimeter PCV hose, and 12.7 is probably the inside diameter. I installed the PCV hose, goes to the lower intake manifold. I used 3/8 PCV tubing. Could have been a little bit bigger. It went on there, but it was tough. Could have been a little bigger. Put the coilover plug units back on.